If you're watching this video, you might be looking at purchasing a Tatonka pack and you might be wondering, how do I set up these packs? In terms of picking a model, if you're after a really big pack with lots of room for week-long trips, it's pretty hard to look past the Tatonka Bison, which has 90 litres of space. If you're more of a weekend tramper hunter, you don't need all that extra space and room. The likes of the 70-litre Yukon could be just the ticket. The main differences with these packs is the harness system. So the Yukon has the V2 harness system. It's slightly smaller, whereas the Bison has the big and comfy X1 harness system, which really suits tall guys like me, talking 2 meters tall. Both harnesses and packs should fit anyone taller than 165 centimeters. So we've now picked our pack. I went for the 90-litre Tatonka Bison with the big X1 harness. So when we're setting this harness system in the pack up, a good trick is to put 5 to 10 kilos of weight in the pack so it mimics what the pack will be like when you're carrying it around the hills. If you had no weight in there, it kind of sits high and sits funny. So we've got weight in there, and now we're going to look at the harness system here. Pretty straightforward. If you're short, if you're 165 centimeters, you want to set your shoulder harness down at the bottom. If you're average height, you want to go somewhere in the middle. And if you're tall like me, getting up towards 2 meters in height, you want to put it on the very highest notch here. And that's pretty easily done. It's just a Velcro system. It's pretty straightforward. I'm a 2 meter Peter, so I'm going for the tall setting. Poke that tab through my top one, pull it through, poke this one through the bottom tab that sits flush there underneath. I then fold that down, fold that right up, and that's set on the tall setting for me. And when the shoulder strap is set correctly, there should be very few gaps between the strap itself and your shoulder and the body. Next thing is lean forward and do up your hip belt straps. And everyone's going to have a slightly different position of what's comfortable for them in the hip area. For most people, your hip bone should sit in the pocket. So we then do up these stabilizer straps, pull them forward. Now it's nice and tight, and my hip's sitting right there in the pocket. That's really comfy. So now to the shoulder straps. So you just pull down and that'll tighten to whatever feels comfortable, but just remembering that it's going to be better if you're carrying more of the weight on your hips rather than on your shoulders, because you'll get very tired shoulders if you're carrying all the weight here and you've got a loose hip belt. We're now going to take a look at the load control buckles. It's recommended that the angle of your shoulder to these should be 30 degrees. For my height, that would take me to the top one, but personally I find the lower one just a bit more comfortable how the pack sits. So I'm just going to thread it through that buckle, back, second one, and just leave them fairly loose at this stage, don't tension them too much. We're now going to adjust the tri-glide, which is this buckle here. That wants to sit just forward of your shoulder towards the collarbone, so somewhere about here. So we'll just slide that back for me, slide the other one back to about there. And now that means we can tension the load control strap forward and tight. And the beauty of that is, rather than having the pack sitting backwards off me, the pack's centre of gravity is far more in line with my own centre of gravity, and that means I'm far more stable on my feet. And one of the last things we do is adjust the chest or sternum strap here. This can slide up and down depending where it's comfortable on you to sit. Pull it tight, it wants to be nice and firm in there, but not so loose that the pack slides around, or not too tight and that your chest can't actually breathe when you're climbing hills. So about there's right. And lucky last, before we can hit the hills, is adjusting the hip strap load control. And this is down here on your hip belt, and it's just pulling that tight, and again it just brings your pack more in line with your own centre of gravity. So rather than having that weight swaying around down on your hips, it's in nice and tight, so you feel a lot more stable. And just a little handy tip when you're travelling with this pack, when it's got weight on top of it, travelling to your hunting or your tramping location, or when you're storing the pack, what you want to do is pull out these alloy hip bars here, just so that can sit free. If you leave it in and you put stuff on top, sometimes these alloy bars, if they keep getting bent, they can eventually break. So if you do that on both sides, it just ensures that alloy bar is going to last a lot longer. And you've just got to remember to put it back in next time you're using your pack. So the pack fitting process is identical whether you're male or female. If you are a woman, and wanting a pack, we really recommend looking at the woman's specific pack, such as the woman's bison here. You'll find it much more comfortable. The shoulder straps and the hip belts are shorter, so you're not going to run out of adjustment, which you might just do on the male packs. This whole neck and shoulder area is tighter, better fitting. The back itself is shorter, and importantly, the chest and sternum strap sits a lot higher above the breast area, so it's going to be a much more pleasant experience when you're carrying a load out on the hills. Again, all of this, they're just general guidelines, so do whatever feels most comfortable for you specifically and personally. Apart from that, get out there and enjoy your brand new comfortable Tatonka packs.